Hey everyone, the other day, I made a text animation using geometry nodes, inspired by an old Blender tutorial from Ducky 3D. Today, I'll be showing you how to create my version of that geometry nodes text animation. Start a new Blender project, then select the light and camera and delete them. After that, select the cube and head over to the Geometry Nodes workspace. In Geometry Nodes, start by collapsing any panels you're not using. Click New, turn on snapping, then delete the main connection. Add a string to curves node and connect it to the output. In the string field, type geometry nodes. Set your view to the top. Change the horizontal alignment to center and the vertical alignment to middle. For the font, I'll use Arial Black. To make the text multi-line, set the text box width to 0.01. Add a fill curve node to fill in the text, and then an extrude mesh node. You'll notice it's extruded too much, so reduce the offset to around 0.3. The back of the extrusion might look messy. To fix that, uncheck Individual. Now, the back face is still missing, so add a Join Geometry node. Plug the filled curve mesh into the join geometry, and then connect that to the output. Also, plug the extrusion into the same join geometry node. Now we've got a proper back face. To check if everything's facing the right direction, open Overlays and turn on Face Orientation. Blue means it's fine. Red means there could be issues with rendering or lighting. To fix that, add a Flip Faces node after the fill curve. That should fix the problem. And now you can turn off face orientation. Next, let's bevel the text to get better reflections. Since Geometry Nodes doesn't have a bevel node, we'll use a little trick. Duplicate the extrude mesh node and place it after the first one. Take the top output from the first extrude and plug it into the selection of the second. Change the offset to 0.03. Then, add a scale, elements node after the second extrude mesh. Connect top to selection and set scale to 0.9. That gives us a kind of bevel effect. Duplicate those two nodes, extrude mesh and scale elements, and place them after the flip faces node. Connect scale elements to join geometry. And take the flip faces output and connect it to the mesh input. Now we've created a bevel on the bottom of the text as well. The text will need a material, so after the join geometry node, add a set material node. We'll leave it blank for now. Go to the start of the geometry nodes tree. On the input node, drag a connection from the small circle under geometry to the string input on the text node. This creates a box where we can easily change the text later. Press N to open the sidebar. And rename string to something more descriptive. Once you're done, press N again to close the panel. Now, whenever you edit that text field, it will automatically update in the geometry node's setup. Switch over to the Layout tab. We'll set up some simple render settings there next. Go to the Render tab and set the render engine to EVE. Turn on ray tracing, then head down to color management and set the look to very high contrast. Now we're ready to create the material. So let's jump over to the shader editor. Collapse all the panels you're not using. And rename the material. Now, head back to geometry nodes to set the material. Once that's done, go back to the shader editor. Set metallic to 1. Then add a wave texture and move it off to the side. Press Ctrl+T to add the texture coordinates. And connect object to vector. Use Ctrl+Shift+Left. Click on the wave texture so we can preview it. Scale down the texture. Set the Z rotation to 45 degrees and increase the distortion to around 50. That'll give you some nice flowing waves. Next, plug the BSDF output into surface. Take the color from the texture and plug it into roughness. Add a bump node. Connect the color from the texture to height, and then plug the normal from the bump node into the BSDF normal. You might notice there's no visible effect. That's because the bump node changed in Blender 4.5. Set distance to 1, but it'll look too strong, so lower the strength to around 0.2. Now, let's animate the waves. Open a new window at the bottom and switch it to the timeline. Set the end frame to 500. On frame 1, hover over the phase, offset and press I to insert a keyframe. Then go to the last frame. Change the phase offset to 50 and press I again. If you play the animation, you'll see the waves moving nicely across the text. Once that's working, switch back to the Layout tab. Let's set up the camera and lighting for our scene. First, create a camera. Then open a new viewport window and set it to the left side. In that new window, press 0 on the numpad to switch to the camera view. In the right window, set the view to the side view and move the camera up so the full text is visible. Now, in the left window, turn off all the extra panels, the gizmo, and overlays, and switch the view to rendered mode so you can see what the final shot will look like. Next, add a curved circle and edit its size so it surrounds the text nicely. Since Geometry Nodes doesn't handle lighting directly, we'll need to add some ourselves. Create a point light. Change its color to blue. Set the power to 500. And the radius to around 1.5. Open the Constraints tab, and from the list, choose Follow Path. For the target, select the circle curve. Set the offset to 15, then add a keyframe. This moves the light to the bottom right of the text. Now, let's add a second light. Create another point light. Set its color to green. Power to 500. And radius to 1.5. Add another follow path constraint. Target the same circle curve. Set the offset to 65 and add a keyframe. This places the second light near the top left of the text. Go to the end frame, increase the offset to 165 and set another keyframe. Then, select the first light, set its offset to 115, and keyframe that as well. Now, if you play the animation, you'll see both lights moving smoothly around the text, creating a nice dynamic effect. Pause on a frame you like, and render one image. We'll use this in the compositing step. Once Blender finishes rendering the image, head over to the compositor. This is the final step before we render the full animation. Inside the compositor, start by checking Use Nodes. You should see the image we just rendered appear. Press V a few times to zoom out so you can see everything clearly. Next, add an ellipse mask node and connect a viewer node to it. Adjust its size. Then, add a blur node. Switch it to fast Gaussian and set the size to around 800. Once that's done, you can delete the viewer node. Now, add an alpha over node. Take the blur output and connect it to the factor input. Then, take the image output from the Render Layers node and plug it into the bottom image input on the alpha over node. Connect the alpha overs output to both the composite node and a viewer node. Change the top image color to black. That'll give us a nice fade effect. Next, add a glare node and drop it on the main image connection. Set the glare type to bloom, the quality to high, the strength to 3, tint to green, and size to 1. Once that's done, switch back to the layout workspace for one final step before rendering. Click the small arrow next to rendered view and select Compositor, always. This makes sure the effects show up in your render. And that's it. Now you can save and render your finished project. And that's it for this tutorial on creating 3D animated text with geometry nodes. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to help out. I'd also love to hear your tips or feedback on how I can make these videos even better. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Share your projects with me there too. And of course, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Blender tutorials.